So we kind of thought the qualification is going to be the thing that brings us into a new country, where that was the biggest mistake again. First interview, first job offer you got, and then we had we struggled with all the documentation that we couldn't provide. We had a fire just prior to that, went to plan A. Okay, now we're moving on to plan B. I think we ended up at plan Z. We didn't have any friends to invite to a birthday party or anything. So it was kind of like, okay, this is us. It's realizing, okay, this is really just us. So, it's good memories now that I look back, but at that specific moment, it didn't feel like a good time. I think at that stage I was totally overwhelmed, and it got to me because we were sitting with this issue with visas, and our biggest concern. I mean, sitting in a new country and facing the thought of your child being deported back to South Africa. I mean, we're not going to stay here if one of our children had to go back. So I remember there was a day where I kind of felt like, I'm going to pack up. I can't do this anymore. I can't do New Zealand anymore. I said to Sean, I'm out of here.
Thank you everyone for joining, and today we are going to interview Mariska Fourie. Mariska, thank you very much for joining the Immigrant Story podcast. It's really nice to see your face again and to have a nice chat with you. We've come a long way as well, so I'm keen to get your story out there to everybody that's either thinking about immigrating to New Zealand or anywhere in the world actually, or thinking of immigrating or have already immigrated. And I think you have a number of years experience through this whole process, which will be really good for others to hear. Each and every migrant has their own challenges and their own pathway, but I'm really keen that you can share your story. So thank you very much for agreeing to be on Immigrant Story podcast.
Well, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. And I mean, you're really a big part of our story. So we're definitely, keen to help where we can, especially with all the new migrants. And I know it's definitely a challenging road. And I mean, it can be a good story as well.
Yes, exactly. And that's wonderful that we can share the story now that it is good, because for a long time it was really very frustrating, very challenging. Maybe take us through your process, like before you even, by the time you guys contacted me, Sean, your husband had already had a job offer as such, but what was your process before he got a job offer? Take us through that, the story.
Yeah, I mean, we thought about it for years, but we had Australia in mind, and it just never worked out. So we looked at all different aspects of, migrating, but it just didn't actually finalize. And we got to a point where crime really affected us. So we became part of the crime stories, not really afraid of it. It just really affected us in a negative way. So we got to a point where it felt like you're working yourself to the top and then you're losing again with crime. And it kept on happening. And, once it starts affecting your children, you obviously starts having a different mindset. It becomes like a different mindset of you don't care what you own anymore. It's a matter of I want to be safe, and just being together is the main focus. So to us, that was the main focus. And we had a few fortunate events with crime, and then Sean just went into this thing where he would end his day, and then before he goes to bed, he would email about 10 CVs every day. But what we didn't realize at the time is the importance of having like a keyword. I mean, in South Africa, a lot of the South African guys are like jack of all trades. You can do anything. You're a very handy type of nation. But it's not necessarily a good thing on your CV. I think we didn't realize that at the time. We kind of thought being so skilled is a good thing because they're going to see what I can offer to the country. And it was actually a negative thing to us. We realized that after months because we just didn't get anywhere, and we couldn't understand because he's really skilled. And so we started looking at, he's got a qualification, but he didn't use it at the time. So he had years of experience in cabinet making, but he had a boiler making qualification. So we kind of thought the qualification is going to be the thing that brings us into a new country, where that was the biggest mistake again. So then we started thinking, okay, well, he's actually working in a different industry. He's got years of experience. And we started changing the keywords in the CV, focusing on one area to look more specialized in one specific industry. And we started getting replies on emails. And then we thought, oh, this might actually be it. And then we changed the CV again and made it more specialized. Don't look like a professor. No, I'm just joking. So changed it, and then you got an interview.
Wonderful. So you refined it. So you saw what wasn't working. You refined the
Yes.
CV, and you're very right. If they are going to employ you, they're going to employ you in a specific role, and that role
Yes.
might not be the same or align to the country that you come from. It might not be called the same. It might be called something else, or you might need a different skill set as such. So that's wonderful. So he got an interview then over whatever Skype those years. I don't think Zoom was around.
It was on Facebook, actually, Facebook video call.
Okay.
Yes.
And did he get, is that the job that he got, the offer for?
Yes, first interview, first job offer he got. And then we had we struggled with all the documentation that we couldn't provide. We had a fire just prior to that. Our place was burned down, and we had a lot of items that were stored in the specific unit. So we lost a lot. And how do you get that back? You can't get it back. So it was a nightmare. And I mean, I can honestly say, if it wasn't for you, we would have been in South Africa. I mean, you went to plan A. Okay, now we're moving on to plan B. I think we ended up at plan Z, but got here. Yes.
Yeah, I remember I was pretty worried about your document set, and I understood that there was a fire, but those years I don't think there was anything that was electronic in any case, so you couldn't rely on electronic documents. And I remember we went through quite a number of sort of sessions where we got documents, and then we started brainstorming what else could we provide, what else could we provide, what else can we provide. And in the end we got there, and I think I still mentioned to you before, I think it's worthwhile giving it a shot, but it can go either way. They can either decline it or they could, but there was nothing more that we could give. I think it was like a sponge that we just absolutely squeeze the last bit, and I think you were quite annoyed with me maybe at a time, which is understandable, but it was just, I knew what the threshold needs to be for immigration to approve the visa. So I was really very pleased that it was for yourself, Sean, and your 3 daughters that we were able to get the visas, and you were able to come over to New Zealand. So that was amazing. Yeah, the fire didn't help at all in your instance, and it's not something that you obviously planned. A lot of people tell me we burnt our documents sort of on purpose before we left.
No.
And I always take a step back, and in your case, you actually had a fire that you couldn't help for. So I'm pleased that the visas came through, and then you came through. That was 2019. Sorry, say?
Yes. I'm still keeping all our documents. I wanted to throw it out about a few months ago, and Sean said to me, you keep everything in a file.
Just in
you
case.
Never know, keep everything. So we've got stacks of documentation, but it's rather safe than sorry.
Yes. So that was back in 2019, beginning of 2019, that yes. you guys came over, the 5 of you. That's fantastic. And I have Hooker Falls in my background, specifically for you, because you ended up going to Taupo first. I know you're not in Taupo anymore, but I thought I'd for the story, I'd add the Hooker Falls on your behalf, because you're in Taupo for a number of years. Is that right?
Yeah, we started in Taupo for about 4 years. When Sean got the job offer, he said to me, listen, this is in the middle of the North Island. And I instantly said to him, oh, goodness, I need to be close to water, because we used to live next to the sea, actually. So we love just the ocean or any type of water. Obviously didn't know where Taupo was. And then when I looked online, I thought, oh, my goodness, there's water. I mean, it's the biggest lake.
Exactly.
So when we arrived in Taupo, it kind of felt like we were seeing the sea. It's massive.
Yes. There's no shortage of water in Taupo.
No. So, I mean, I think just the beauty of Taupo alone made it so much easier.
Yes.
It's just really a beautiful place.
Yeah. So when did you easily settle in? Did the kids easily settle in when you arrived in New Zealand? Did Sean easily settle in his job?
He settled in quite, I would not say easily, but his biggest challenge was basically the different wording for certain things. Like in South Africa, you would say this is a screw, and they would use a different term for something. He would use like a slider for a drawer, and they would have different terms they would use. So a lot of times he would have a plan in front of him to do his job, and then a lot of the words obviously was something new that that he's never heard of it before.
Yes.
So it he had to get some explaining, and then oh no, I know what it is. Obviously, I mean, I know what to do. And then it's like, oh, okay. So that took a while.
Mm.
And then obviously being a migrant as well, it's not your country, so it's being humble, make sure that you listen and you try and do whatever's needed of you. I think that
Yes.
was the change, because we were self-employed and now all of a sudden he was working for someone. But he's a humble person, so that made it quite easy.
Mm.
I think if you're a very stubborn person where you want to be right or you want to prove your point, just leave it at home. It's not going to work. So just
Mm.
go to work, do your thing, be humble, and that's the way to go. That's going to make life a lot easier. And I mean, he quite enjoyed working for a company again. I think my first day when we arrived in Taupo, we went to Pack and Save because we needed to buy some food. We went into a holiday home. That was the first day we arrived there. And I started crying in Pack and Save, and I felt so overwhelmed. And he was just laughing, like, what? And I'm like, I don't know where's what. And I mean, I would look for a product and it's not even in New Zealand, or you don't know if you need to walk left. So it's just the strange feeling was what got to me a bit. Um, and then I think for the children, it was fine, but they were really struggling. They just wanted to find a school. And then obviously being Afrikaans to English, that was quite a thing. But with Mika, we arrived about, I think, 3 weeks before she turned 5. So we had to arrive and do an instant visa change
Visa.
when she
Mm.
turned 5. So she wasn't allowed to go anywhere. So that was
Mm.
quite a big struggle, because she would wake up every day asking me, when can I go to school? When can I go to school? Why can't I go to school? So you'll explain it. I mean, you can't explain that to a 5-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think the first real where emotions got to me was she turned 5 just when we arrived. What, like I said, 3 weeks after that, and we didn't have any friends to invite to a birthday party for or anything. So it was kind of like, okay, this is us. It's realizing, okay, this is really just us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So you didn't have any family in New Zealand either.
no, we didn't have any.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so but it's good memories now that I look back, but at that specific moment, it didn't feel like a good time. Um,
Yes, exactly,
yeah,
exactly. And especially as you said, when these things start affecting your kids, then that's when it affects you more than what it does if it affected you as such. So
yeah,
back and save and not knowing what the products are, different names. You're not even sure if the product is what you think it is, because you're not always
mhm.
sure. You can't see the product name if it's the same or similar, and when
But
it
also
affects your
getting
kids.
advice from people, because a lot of people would buy different products. So I went on advice that I got from people, like people that arrived before us, and I realized afterwards it's like shopping at home in South Africa, or just going to Mr. Price, for instance. Mr. Price, I think there's a price difference where a lot of advice I got here was quite expensive items. And I thought
Mm,
that is the actual price. I didn't do some research, because you kind of feel like, okay, well, they arrived before us, they would know. So I
yes.
think the important thing is look at your own circumstances and focus on that. Everyone is different, everyone's circumstances is different, and just focus on your specific needs.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I'm quite happy with Kmart, and you don't need to buy, because I see a lot of people worrying about money and how can they have everything they need. And there is definitely affordable prices if you just search for it.
Yes. Yes. And even
Mm,
with these days with Facebook Marketplace, op shops, thrift stores,
yes.
and Kmart that's recently come into the country as well. There's a good. There's no more monopoly on high prices. You can really get something for lower prices. But it's
Yes.
true. It's very subjective. Yeah. And then from memory, the company was sold over. So Sean was working for a company. It changed hands as well, and he continued working for the company. Does
Yes,
my memory
we,
serve me
as you
correctly?
know, yeah, we saved up for residency fees already, so we started staking money away, and then all of a sudden, just they just walked in one day saying, "Listen, the company is sold." So he wasn't prepared or anything, and they said, "Well, we're going to change the company name with one word." So it was like the company name and laminate, and then they changed the company name to stone. So laminate was taken out to stone, one word.
Yeah.
And that meant we had to get new visas. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I think that cost like, what, I can't even remember, but it was just a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then we had to get new visas. But at the end of the day, it was actually a good thing, because with all the delays with COVID, it meant like we had a longer term on our new visas to actually stay in New Zealand without having an issue or being
Yeah.
deported or whatever. So it was a good thing at the end, but it didn't feel like that, when it happened. So we had quite an expensive immigration process, but it worked out.
Bottom line is Sean got the qualification that he needed as well from memory, and then immigration actually put everything on hold. They put the whole application for residence on hold when COVID hit, and that was the problem. Then everyone was sitting in limbo. Now, you've also got your daughter was also sort of an adult dependent at that time, so she was coming to finish school from memory in COVID. And I think that was also probably one of your biggest challenges is, and I had a number of clients in this situation, and I specifically went to Erica Stanford with your case, and I think you contacted her after that as well. She was part of the opposition still at that stage. She wasn't the immigration minister, but explaining the situation that parents were in at that time, where adult children could no longer go to school, but at the same time we couldn't apply for residence for the family because everything was stopped during COVID for over a year and a half.
It was definitely one of the biggest. I think just with the company change in name, what helped us a lot there is you communicated with the employer instead of us. So I think at that stage I was totally overwhelmed, and it got to me because we were sitting with this issue with visas and the change of name, the fees, and then the changes with Gabby, our oldest daughter, and then the dependent changes as well. So we had a few things changing all at once. So that really made it a lot easier for us, you communicating with them. And I mean, we just got the email with the visa. So that kind of it's just, I would definitely use an agent. That's all I can say.
There was a lot going on. There was a lot going on, specifically with Gabby, that was finishing or coming to finish her school as well. We were looking at what happens to her after that, and what, if we apply for a visa, then there might be a number of visas that we need to apply for. So there was a number of, you're quite right, number of things going on at the same time. So from your perspective, it's interesting to understand, because you only see it as the name changed with one word. But from my perspective, I can see that, the NZBN, which is your business number, if that changes, then it's basically like a full new company, even if you called it, just with a 2024 at the end or 2023 or whatever. And that's the way that immigration saw it as well. And that was something that we had to explain to the employer, because obviously they also, need to be across the whole process. But yes, there was a number of things happening at the same time. And I think ultimately, what I remember is that Gabby was sort of finished with school.
I think that was our biggest concern. I mean, sitting in a new country and facing the thought of your child being deported back to South Africa. I mean, we're not going to stay here if one of our children had to go back. So that was just not an option. But that was basically just
what you were worried about.
Yeah, we were worried about that. So it's just, with Gabby, we were forced for her to go back to school, even though she already completed school, because that was the visa conditions. We were then forced to take her back to school with the next year, even though she completed school. So she went back, and that was really, really hard on her, because, I mean, sitting there as an adult, being in a classroom with younger children, and then being told you might do this for 2 years. There's a possibility that you might return the next year as well.
Yeah.
So the school was really amazing. They ended up using her in the tuck shop and in the cafeteria and all over. So she helped all around. And yes, so we tried everything we can. Then with the visa changes, you changed the visa again, just making sure that everything is legit. And yes, we waited quite long for that. So that was really challenging. I think she stayed at home for, if I can remember correctly, I think it was about 8 months, where she just had to be at home. And, we kind of said to her, just exercise, get out, go to
Mm.
church, be involved. And instead of waiting for life, friends to come to you, invite people.
Yeah.
If you can, make a group, like go for a
Mm.
walk,
Mm.
meet everyone at the lake, say at 6 o'clock, go for a walk or whatever. Just get out of the house. That's the main thing. And I think a lot of people focus on, but everything is money, money, money. You can't go and do stuff every day, but you don't need to. We're in a
Yeah.
country where you can go for a walk. You can there's so many parks where you can
Yes.
go and just chill. So you can actually get out, just get out of the house.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Yeah.
cabin fever, I think, is probably the worst, and also a sense of purpose. So,
Mm.
those people, the kids can volunteer as well, and that
Yeah.
sense of purpose alone makes them, sort of mentally, it obviously stimulates them and it assists them in not feeling that they're just at home, because I can imagine you going off to work, Sean's going off to work, sisters are going off to school, and she's alone. So what does she
Yes.
do at home, and how does she get through it? There's only so much that you can do at home, or so much TV you can look at, or so many YouTube things that you can look at. There needs to be a sense of purpose as well, and especially for these young kids. 1 year in their life is a lot. If you think that a person's only 19 or whatever, 1 year is a massive amount of time, and also because they have got so much energy and can do
Mm.
a lot. So
Yes, and
if
she started working at a hair salon, just
mm,
volunteering,
mm,
because she wants to have her own hair salon one day. And
yes,
I kind of thought, you know what, just volunteer, go and help,
yeah,
wash your hair,
yeah,
do
yeah,
anything, just get out. But she got a lot of experience with that. And
mm,
then when residency came through, she actually started her studies, but she had a lot of experience already.
yes,
And looking back at it now, I can just see what it's like, a huge advantage that she just got with that.
mm, mm,
She's busy with her second year studies now, and it's just the amount of experience she got there and confidence is just, she walked into studies with something and not nothing.
yes,
So
yes,
giving
yes,
your
yes.
time is experience, and that experience can be a game changer for you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Now,
Mm.
subsequently, so you were granted residence. I can't remember, the time goes so quickly, but I think you were granted residence in 2022. Is that right?
22 February, yes.
Okay, okay.
I can
Excellent.
remember.
You can remember exactly. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny. I also remember the day that I got residence. It's a big part of my life. I can't remember the day I got citizenship, unfortunately, but I remember the day I got residence, because it was that was the first step to being able to say that this is a permanent visa, that you're going to be staying in the country. So you've now moved away from Taupo. How's life treating you and Sean and the girls now? What are you up to?
So we wanted to be self-employed again. In Taupo, I had a small business, and that was just for the time being in Taupo. So that wasn't the long-term plan. With Sean working for a company, he wasn't allowed to be self-employed. You obviously had your strict visa conditions that you had to stick to. And we did that. So moving to Tauranga it was it was a, how can I say, it's not really a big move, but it was just something we had to do and take a chance on.
Mm,
And yes, the business really doing well. He's doing kitchens and cabinets and property maintenance. And
fantastic.
yeah, yes, so it's really good. And we love Tauranga. It's just a beautiful place. And this is definitely home for us.
Okay. And I think you mentioned earlier to me before the podcast that you actually were eyeing to go to Tauranga from the word go. So you
Yes,
eventually got
from
that
day
goal.
one.
Yes.
Yes, from day one, we wanted to be over here. But when we arrived to New Zealand, we made just a point of it going away weekends. And a lot of times, I mean, you need to save money. You've got so many expenses. So we try
Mm,
to figure out ways how we can actually go away for weekends without spending a lot of money.
mm,
And with top 10, it's like Arctic Cafe in South Africa. I
yeah.
mean, I speak to so many people and they don't know what top 10 is. All of them have basic cabins
Yes.
where you've got your cabin and then your communal kitchens. And that was a
Mm,
game changer for us. So we would have a small budget and
yeah.
then we'd stick to that budget, but we'll get out and just see different towns or places. And we had friends in Tauranga, so we would visit them quite often as well. Or we would swap houses sometimes. They would go to Taupo. So it was good for them and good for us as well.
Yes.
We instantly felt the connection with this is definitely where we see ourselves. So I think it's good. It's a beautiful place. There's business opportunities. There's just a lot of opportunities. And um, with New Zealand, I see that quite often, people complaining about the school structures not being Christian. I think it's a matter of just finding the right school. It's not, you can't just make New Zealand negative. Right.
Yeah.
We had one of our daughters in Bethlehem College in Tauranga, and I can honestly say that's the best school ever. Actually, better than the one we had in South Africa. So the standards are quite high. Everything is just really on a high standard with them. And we've got our younger daughter on a waiting list to start year 7 there. So she's going to be there, and we would love for her to complete her entire school, all her school years there. So it's Christian based, and they've got a lot of opportunities. So just that alone, having your child in a school with the right values, and even the way they dress up, it's just the standards are quite high. Everyone's neat, and they've got rules to stick with, and that's what I like, the discipline about it. So I think for me, it's just finding the right school. It's not that the country is bad. It's like you need to go and search for what you need as a parent. You'll find it here.
It's not one size fits all for all schools. They're not all equal. There are differences.
Yes, definitely. We've seen it with our own children. So yes, it definitely offers a lot in Tauranga. It's a beautiful place.
Excellent. And the business opportunities, I know you've just mentioned that you and Sean have your own business again. Did you find it relatively easy to start a business, to get up and running again? Is it very different to doing business in South Africa?
Well, I love being an entrepreneur. That's my main thing in life. I love that. So I didn't study anything, and I've got no qualification, but I truly have a passion for entrepreneurship and marketing. So for me and Sean, it's quite different because we work as a team. And so I would do the marketing and he would do the work. So for us, it definitely works. And no, I would say it's quite easy. It's easier for me in New Zealand than what we had it in South Africa.
Okay.
You've got a lot of help from the government. You can just go onto a website, and they've got steps to guide you through what you need to do, just to make sure you've got everything in a legal way. Where in South Africa, it kind of felt like you really had to struggle. You had to hire someone, or you need to figure it out. Where over here, it's just go on Google, go onto one of the websites the government actually
provides,
and you'll get the info online. It's just they make it a lot easier for you.
So you and Sean complement one another well with your skill sets, you with your marketing, him with his tradesman and carpentry work?
Yes, I feel we definitely do. I think the biggest challenge was when we just arrived, because we really like an awesome team. We work well together, and it's just everything blends in. But when we arrived, he was just so excited, the new life. We're away from the crime. Everything is just wonderful. And I just wanted a home. I just wanted a security bubble where he kind of felt like, no, we're fine. We'll have it. And I needed it now. I needed a house now. I wanted a bed, a drawer, and just a structure, a safe place as a female. And he didn't get that. For him, it was all about, this is a journey and this is just exciting. And so we had a challenge with that phase. But I guess Yes, more like an adventure. So I think it's just different. I think as a female, being all of a sudden from working full time, now you're going to be home with the children. That mindset it's big, it's massive. I started journaling, and that helped me a lot, really.
Yes. Do you still read your old journals from time to time? Go through them?
I read it the other day. It's actually funny. I read it the other day because I remember there was a day where I kind of felt like, I'm going to pack up. I can't do this anymore. I can't do New Zealand anymore. I'm just totally over immigration New Zealand. And then I emailed you saying, listen, can you please let us know what the options are with Australia? And I was set. I said to Sean, I'm out of here. And I remember you setting up a Zoom meeting like within an hour. And it was just a matter of, you asked me, and I still remember that. You said to me, remember when you were sitting in South Africa, you said to me, if you can only have this and this and this, and you already have that. Just remember what you wished for a few years ago. And I must say, I try and remember that. And I found that journal the other day, and I read it again. And then I realized, like, we came so far. It's like,
yes,
it's like you just kind of get used to your lifestyle and you forget, like, the small things that actually it just makes a huge difference.
Yes, yes, it is, because time goes by so quickly, actually. I think especially since a person's got residence, and yourself got residence, probably didn't go so quickly before then. But you forget where you are and how quickly you have actually gained a lot in a shorter space of time. And that you
Yes.
can actually, so the first, a lot of people say the first 2 years are the most difficult. I think it can actually go through to 3 years, 4 years, but if you can persevere and go through those, there comes a point where it's almost like a tipping point, where
Yes.
things just start going. You don't have to spend money on visas anymore. You've already got the set up in New Zealand, so you don't have to accumulate new things or pay for your goods to arrive in New Zealand. But that tipping point happens that you can really start living life and enjoying things, and actually enjoying the fruits of your labor, because a person puts in a lot of effort and a lot of work for a long time, and then there's a tipping point. And when you reach that, and I felt you guys are just there. You're right there at the tipping point. You hadn't realized it yet that you were actually there, and things could happen so quickly after that that you'll start really enjoying it. And to go and move to a different country again, you're going to start from scratch again. You're going to start from the bottom again. New Zealand and Australia are very different countries. You're going to put yourself through all that turmoil. It might look green on the other side, but you were at the point where you actually were going to be able to reap the benefits of all your hard work. So I could see it from where I was. Obviously, you didn't feel it at the time because there was a lot happening, and it's a lot of frustration, and you were worried about your daughter, which I can understand. So I'm glad that you did persevere, and now you are eventually
Thanks to you.
I'm glad that you're in Tauranga as well, which is where you wanted to be from the word go. So that's another big goal that you guys have accomplished, and that you've got your girls in great schools that Gabby's able to study too, and I'm sure she'll have her own hairdressing salon. There's no doubt about it. So she'll also be able to achieve all her goals that she has, because she's got you as parents. So I'm sure you're going to be able to help her with the marketing and everything else that needs to be done. So maybe you can run 2 businesses very shortly. If you didn't have a pathway to residence, because it didn't come easy for you guys either, because you'd lost a lot of the documents. So a lot of the experience that we could have claimed, we couldn't claim because you didn't have evidence of that experience that Sean had. So it was touch and go, and then we had to do a few more things. But let's say, worst case scenario, you didn't have a pathway to residence. Would you still consider coming to New Zealand then for 5 years, or would that have been a deal breaker for you?
I think yes, and we actually have said this to a lot of people. Even if New Zealand is just your pathway to gaining a qualification, then you do that. Because then you're sitting with a first world country qualification instead of a third world country qualification. So Sean had this mission of sitting with a South African qualification and then arriving in a new country to have a plan B option available, which is basically get a New Zealand qualification. So even if you just had that and then use that to get to wherever, a different country, Canada or whatever, I mean, I think the options would be better then. And I think employers might look in a different way if you have like a New Zealand qualification instead of,
And New
I don't know.
Zealand experience then, right? You'd
And
have the experience
you
too.
have the
Yeah.
experience as well. So you're sitting with the qualification and the experience. So it's just, I would definitely do it, yes, even if it's just
Okay.
temporary.
Even if it's just like a springboard to somewhere else, it's still worthwhile doing that, because it's
Yeah,
expensive
I mean,
exercise, but it does obviously have its benefits, as you mentioned now.
yeah, your options are just better. And you've got the entire experience with all your documentation. You actually get to know how this immigration thing works. I think your chances are just a lot better with still trying it out.
Yes.
And I think it's depending on each person.
Yeah.
The circumstances are just different. But
Yeah.
we would definitely, yes, we would.
Interesting. No, that's really good. I love asking that question, and I love the responses that I get from it. So you've given a lot of good tips along our podcast discussion now. Thank you for that. Is there any final tip or word of advice that you'd like to give to any immigrant that's looking at immigrating anywhere in the world? As a migrant yourself, I think you've got, as I said, a number of years experience now. So any one pointer that you'd like to rip out of your experience and provide to our listeners?
There's actually two things. That's one obstacle we're dealing with at the moment is Sean lost his e-filing password, and then we found it, but for some reason it's not working anymore. So we had an accountant sitting with all our stuff, and we gave
So you're
him
talking
power
about
of attorney.
South African SARS, right?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. So definitely make sure you've got someone that side that all your information can be sent to you via email, not to a text, via SMS, because that's what we're dealing with at the moment. So that is definitely a tip that I would give before you leave South Africa to New Zealand. And then when you...
Sorry, so maybe what we're looking at is a power of attorney, giving a power of attorney to somebody to deal with your matters in the country that you that you've come from, that you don't have to struggle from your new country.
We don't have that at this stage, so it's quite an issue. And we
Okay.
want to change our residency status at this stage, and that's one of the obstacles we're dealing with.
That's very
And
good.
then friendship-wise, I would say I see quite a lot of posts with ladies feeling very alone, not having friends, don't know where they can actually find friends or don't fit in. And I would say invite people instead of sitting and waiting to be invited. Invite people. You'll find your crowd. You'll find the people that you connect with, and get out. That definitely saved us a lot. Just getting out in nature and actually seeing the country, just enjoying the country.
Yeah, perhaps doing things that you wouldn't have necessarily normally done in your home country.
Exactly. Me and Sean went on a holiday. We went to South Island, and that's something that wouldn't have happened. So we took 12 days with a camper van, and we went all around South Island. So we're starting to build memories. And then again, it's not something that really costs a lot. So there's really ways. Just do your research. There's a lot of things you can do with not a lot of money. And it's memories that we're building now that we never had. We never had the opportunity.
Yes, exactly.
And
you can
your
see a
help,
lot of New
definitely.
Zealand.
Yes, but your help, definitely, that's where it started. So we recommend you to everyone. And a lot of people say, no, we're going to try and save money. We'll do it on our own. But I can honestly say in our scenario, we would have been in South Africa if we did it on our own. So thanks to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Mariska.
Yeah.
It's a big pleasure, and I'm really proud to be able to help you guys, and that you are in New Zealand, that you've remained in New Zealand, and now also to be able to get family members, finally, that you've got some family in New Zealand too. So that's also very exciting.
It's exciting. So we had family come over and visit, and then my brother and his family, you helped them as well. So they're living in Taupo. So yes, it's really a good thing. It's nice having family. Yeah,
excellent.
Good for the
Great
children
plan.
as well.
Yes, especially for the kids. Yes, to have their family.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate all the advice and your story, your rundown of the journey, which has been quite a challenging one at the best of times. But it's really good to see you guys doing so well, and that the girls are all doing well, and that Sean and yourself have a business again. I'm really glad to hear that, and that you keep reaching all your goals, that you keep achieving all your goals. That's something that's really satisfying for me in my job, is to be able to see not only people be in the country, but really succeed. And it's fabulous to see the Fourie family doing so well.
Well, thanks. Due to you. You helped us. Okay,
Thank
nice to
you.
see you again.